yesterday I was here. There wasn't a verdict, so it was pretty much a chill. Just here.
I was here too, Bob Barr, but I never came in. And Bob didn't want to do live shots, he was fighting cold. Didn't want to have coffee. This was really smooth. some people are.
I think so too.
Hey, Doug, check 1, 2, 3. Doug, can you hear me? Or, wait a minute, is this the right mic? Doug. Hello, Douglas. Wrong mic. Hey, Doug, check 1, 2, 3. Doug, is that the right mic? Doug, is that the right mic? No. Let me call you back.
No, I just texted Lauren to see. And we're all revved up. 2-minute warning, 2-minute warning.
Oh, 2-minute warning.
We're going to start rolling on it. Okay, thank you, sir.
Tell them it's going to start in 2. You said it. What did you say?
Sounds good. All right, bye. Not to air right now. To digital, I believe.
I just thought you'd probably be holding your phone. Would you rather have your hand?
No, lots fine. I'm just saying logistically what's easier if this wraps up at 4:55 and then see what.
Check 1 2 3. Doug, check 1 2 3. Doug, check 1 2 3. Hello, Doug. Hello, Doug. Check 1 2 3. Oh, cuz tired. You got it? Okay, this is me tapping. This is me tapping. This is me talking, tapping. Got you. Okay, thank Doug.
Where's yeah. If you guys are, when you guys tell me when you're ready, and I'll go. He's still there. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is John McCarthy. I'm the state's attorney for Montgomery County. Approximately about an hour ago, we received a verdict in the case of State versus Raphael Mayorga. Mr. Mayorga is 21 years old. He's from Frederick, Maryland. He was involved in a catastrophic assault against a police officer on October the 18th, 2023 at Watkins Mill Road and 270. At approximately 3:55 in the morning, when he was exceeding speeding limits at least in excess of 100 miles an hour at various points in time, his speed may have reached 160 miles an hour. The trial this week, he was on trial faced with 18 criminal counts. The jury acquitted him of 5, including the most serious charges. He was found guilty of second-degree assault and 12 other criminal charges. He faces, as a result of his convictions here today, potential penalties of up to 28 years in prison. He was held without bond by Judge Harry Storm, who presided over the trial. The sentencing in this matter is set for August the 27th at 9:30 before Judge Storm, who was the presiding officer in this case. The defendant in this case and Patrick Koepp, an 11-year veteran of the Montgomery County Police Department, were not strangers to one another. They had had face-to-face meetings with each other, at least on 4 occasions. Almost all of those occasions included the officer being involved in some criminal activity related to traffic offenses involving Mr. Mayorga. They knew each other. They were not strangers to each other. Quite candidly, we knew from looking at social media that Mr. Mayorga trolled Officer Patrick Koepp. So the idea that he did not purposely do this to Officer Koepp is offensive to us. He posted pictures of Patrick on his social media, and he knew who he was aiming at, saw him. And in the course of the trial, there was a statement that he made that was admitted before the jury that he saw Patrick Koepp, knew it was Patrick Koepp, and knew he was out there. He had actually passed him earlier on the same evening when he was handling another traffic matter. It was not even the first time he saw him that night. I'm very proud of the work and the way the Montgomery County Police Department, and I'm joined by the Deputy Chief Darren Frank, the men and women in this department have rallied to Patrick Kep. They've rallied to him. They rallied to him throughout the course of this because he suffered catastrophic injuries, losing both of his legs and other serious injuries to his body. Patrick Kep is a very special human being. He's a very special human being who's involved every day in keeping this community safer. But like a number of other young men, we've been here on various occasions talking to the community about people like Noah Liotta or Luke Hoffman, other young men like Patrick Kep who try to keep people in this community safe every single day. Those other two young men lost their lives. It is a miracle that Patrick Kep is still among the living. If it had not been for the responsive work of his fellow officers who put tourniquets on his legs to stop the massive bleeding, he could have bled out in seconds on that roadway. I will tell you, Patrick's devastated by the verdict. I said this upstairs. There's some days when it's great to be state's attorney in Montgomery County. This is not one of those days. I'm very proud of not only the work that the police did, but I will tell you, if you watch this trial take place, the two lawyers who prosecuted this case on my behalf, Jim and Hannah, did a spectacular job. They did a great job. We were just disappointed by the verdict. I would also say the fact that some of that contact that I talked to you about that existed between Patrick and the defendant, the jury was not permitted to know all of those facts. They were not permitted to know that they had had as extensive contact as they'd had before and the nature of that contact. I will say that I'm honored here to be joined by the Assistant Chief of Police, Darren Frank, from the Montgomery County Police, and I'm going to ask the Assistant Chief to come up here and say a few words on behalf of the department.
Good afternoon. My name is Darren Frank. I'm the Chief of Patrol Services for Montgomery County Police. First, I want to thank the State's Attorney's Office, Mr. McCarthy and his team, for the effort that they put into this difficult case. I'm going to echo what he said. We are disheartened, and that's putting it mildly. This verdict, and please, I don't want to confuse anyone. The jury did their job. They did what they were tasked for. We thank them. We understand the process. What we're disheartened by, what we're angry about, is that in this state, a 19-year-old can turn a 4,200-pound vehicle into a guided missile. And on October 18th, 2023, he took that missile, endangered all residents in Montgomery County, Maryland, and a public servant like Sergeant Pat Kep made the decision that this needs to stop. And what he got was a 4,200-pound missile aimed at him in the middle of 270. It's only by his sheer will, the ability to recognize that Raphael Mayorga, who knew it was Sergeant Pat Kep in the roadway, dive out of the way to save his own life. And then his brave men and women that work with him saved his life with tourniquets, and fire rescue saved him as well. A lot of people came together to ensure that Sergeant Pat Kep could attend this entire trial. This cannot be allowed in this state. I'm very pleased that the Sergeant Pat Kep Act has been passed and will be signed into law, but that is only the start. 19-year-olds should not be allowed to turn vehicles into weapons and terrorize our community. I greatly appreciate the council. Councilmember Lutke has worked with us, along with the county government, County Executive Elrich, to get this legislation passed. But again, it's only the start. It's only the start of making sure that this doesn't happen again. And I also will tell you, it's only the start of the next phase of Sergeant Pat Kep's career. He left here, he went back to his office. He had to absorb what happened, and I'm pretty sure he's already working on his next job. in this department serving the residents of this community. I am proud to have people like him working in Montgomery County, working in law enforcement, and we are going to wrap our arms around him and make sure he understands that his sacrifice and the blessing that he's still alive will not be forgotten, and more good will come out of this than the tragedy of him losing his legs. Thank you.
We'll entertain any questions people might have in a second, but I will tell you, I want to, again, acknowledge the work that was done by many people here, people from Montgomery County Police, Councilwoman Lutke, Dr. Stoddard that works with the administration here. They worked months to try to make sure that anyone who engages in the kind of conduct that Mr. Mayorga engages in, almost every aspect of what he did in this particular case now carries greater penalties because of the Patrick Kep Act that was passed in the last legislature. If you have questions about that, Ms. Lukey can give you some of the details on that. But we've made some steps that would give greater protection to law enforcement officers, like heroes like Patrick, that did this in the future. And hopefully we discourage this kind of activity. But he's an extraordinary young man, and we're very devastated that we're here not giving you better news. There will be substantial penalties here. We'll seek substantial penalties, but again, it's not what we had hoped for. Questions from anybody?
Can you talk a little bit, please, just about why some of these past interactions are not allowed to be entered, and why the jury couldn't necessarily know about that? And I'm assuming you bring that up because obviously that would speak in your mind to intent. So can you just kind of talk about
your question is a fabulous question. Let me just say, begin with the basic presumption. When someone's charged with a crime, other crimes evidence is typically not admitted, because as a matter of law, we don't want people to convict somebody just because somebody's a bad person or has had done a number of things in the past. And so there are circumstances where other crimes evidence is admissible. And one of those exceptions would be motive. And I will tell you, we did make pretrial arguments that the prior contacts should come in greater detail than they did come in, because we thought it showed that Mr. Mayorga would have had a motive to have intentionally gone at Officer Kep. And you have to understand, look, this is almost 4 o'clock in the morning. The speeds that we're talking about here are almost unimaginable for most people who have ever driven a car, and the lighting is not perfect. So obviously, those kinds of circumstances led to an argument that, well, maybe it's just an accident. I will tell you, we argued that knowing some of the other background would lend themselves to showing the intent that was necessary for the greater charges. Not all of those facts were admitted at the trial. We had more to put in. We were not permitted to do it.
Do you think if you were able to, the outcome would have been different?
Well, again, look, I'm not going to speak for the jury. I'm going to respect the verdict, but I will tell you, clearly, I think if you understood the nature of the argument made by the defense that this was an accident, knowing that there was this prior relationship and some of the details of it, I think would have put the kibosh on that to a large extent. I can't tell you what the jury would have done with it, but we thought it was a very important piece of evidence. I know Jim and Hannah multiple times raised the issue. It was not permitted to be put in evidence. And we respect that too. We respect the bench, but the judge does their job. But it made the case very, very difficult. Anybody else have a question?
I was wondering, you talk about Sergeant Patrick Kemp's act. We've seen many of these like car meetups, things of that, reckless driving across here. Have you seen a trend? I mean, I'm sure you have, but I just want to know, is there a trend over the last decade?
What are you talking about?
Less of seeing more reckless driving like this and more car meetups? If so, what do you think is behind it?
Well, it's another trend that evolved out of COVID. We saw it begin to occur as people were looking for a release, if you would, to be able to get out in the public and move around, and it's continued on there. The ones that concern us a great deal involve the cars like Raphael Mayorga was driving, where they are incredibly high-powered cars, capable, again, I believe the testimony was when Raphael Mayorga struck Pat Kep without touching his brake, he was doing 162 miles an hour. these cars are even more capable of faster speeds, put in the hands of young people, and when they take over intersections, when they do donuts while people try and take pictures of them, when they race to and fro between Baltimore, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Washington, D.C., the Inner Harbor, as they race around and try and, again, bait the police into doing something about behavior that's going to kill people. It's taken off. I think the social media behind it, the Instagrams and things like that, that makes it even more heightened. And more importantly, the laws to prevent the behavior don't exist in this state until now with Sergeant Pat Kept Act. And there's, again, I will say there is more work for our legislators to do to stop this behavior. Until you do that, the behavior is going to continue in this state.
Dawn, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just want to say sometimes the motives in order to fix things in the legislature end up coming from a fact pattern that touches all of us, right? So people doing donuts on the Bay Bridge and the car meetups, as Assistant Chief Frank just mentioned, the 2024 session did yield new laws related to street racing and meetups and that type of thing. This year's Sergeant Patrick Kept Act added increased penalties for reckless, negligent, and aggressive driving. But again, there's more that we are looking for, and other things that have been highlighted. You know, it's not sexy to go and say, you know what, I'm going to take the vehicle code and I'm going to see where there might be gaps that don't match the types of things that we're seeing on the roadways currently. But that's what needs to be done, and I'm committed to that, and I know for darn sure Sergeant Kepp is committed to that and to working on that and continuing to push for that. Despite everything that has happened to him, he has been an outstanding partner, resource, and continues to be a dedicated public servant seeking to improve public safety for all and work on finding these types of gaps within our laws.
Let me just say, my final thing is this. God bless Patrick Kepp. He is a special, special human being. The courage that he's had to take on the challenges he's had, I think that's why today's verdict was so very tough for Pat, because he's come so far and overcome so many things. This was just a tough day for him. So thank you very much.
Check 1 2 3 4. Check test 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3. Copy. Thank you.